copy, you're on the ground.
In a series of 5 videos, we'll talk with 5 men who will shed their light on the 60-year-old icon that is the Speedmaster, aka the Moonwatch.
The copy, you will stop, and we'll take this opportunity to congratulate you.
Today we'll talk with Aurel Bacs, renowned auctioneer and chairman of the Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève.
My name is Aurel Bacs. I am based in Geneva, a consultant associate with Phillips Watches. I think it was sometimes in the 1980s that I encountered for the first time the Omega Speedmaster. But what I liked about the Speedmaster is exactly that no-nonsense design. Form follows function. It wasn't an embellished, decorative, fancy piece. It was purely about performing, about precision, about being practical. And I remember well in the 80s when you could buy them for probably between 500 and 800 Swiss francs, a nice vintage piece. Needless to say, the scholarship at the time wasn't as it is today. Nobody would talk about /1, /2, about bezels, about hashes on the bezel. It was just, wow, that's clean, that looks proper, it has a steel bracelet, and this is how it started, all very innocently. Sometime in the late 80s, a dear friend in Zurich, a watchmaker, came to me and says, look what I have. And he showed me that Speedmaster that just by looking at it, without even consciously realizing, there was something different about it. It had a pulsation bezel. I've never seen this before, and I don't think I've ever seen a picture of this before. And he did confirm that it was rare. And then comes the curiosity, the vanity of having something that the others don't have. And I really stretched my budget. I broke my piggy bank. And once that I acquired it, I found out that it was from '69, that this was really cool, because it didn't have any engraving on the back in regards to the moon. The watch was probably made just a couple of weeks before the moon landing. And then I remember shortly after, a friend, an American friend also living in Zurich, gave me a Time magazine with the moon landing story on the cover. I thought it was such a piece of history that somebody back in '69 went to the kiosk, got that magazine, and it was a fresh, off-the-press story. And now I still have my Speedmaster, I still have that magazine, and to me, even though it's not a watch that has flown anywhere or belonged to somebody famous, to me it's my special Speedmaster. It's a good question, what does it represent to an auctioneer? Because one side of my heart that is auctioneer, that means businessman, and then there's the other half of the heart that is about passion, curiosity, where I often make business decisions that are driven by passion and not so much by P&L and rationale.
Also in the Speedmaster book published, and we start this lovely example at 5,000 right away. 5,500, 6,000, 6,500, 7,000, 7,500. I'm already bid 7,500.
Therefore, the Speedmaster has a double meaning in our business. There are, of course, very simple Speedmasters in the low thousands that I just put into the auction because I love them. And then there are the hugely important and historic Speedmasters. I had the pleasure of selling not so long ago one of the White Dial Alaska projects. I know we have now in New York an amazing radial dial with star case watch with the NASA issuant number. These are of course hugely important, sexy watches, trophies, where I'm just sort of like getting excited and treat them with the same respect as many top lots from distinguished other brands. One of the most difficult things, in my view, is to maintain and to further develop an icon. I think it's often much easier to just start something new. If it's not successful, you just dump it, and if it's successful, even better. The Speedmaster, like a Porsche 911 like a Leica camera, it's been good for half a century and more, and to change it bears a risk. And therefore I'm sometimes skeptical, but then of course when they are beautiful and successful, then I'm delighted. Because not everybody can today afford a broad arrow, an original one. So making it affordable to a new generation is a great thing. Now I must say the most recent re-editions, I absolutely love them. And I think what's really beautiful is when you see re-editions done, or limited editions done with subtlety, with finesse, with a deep understanding of the roots, when you do it respectfully, then I believe it's a wonderful thing. It doesn't undermine, it doesn't cheapen the original vintage pieces. It's kind of a hand in hand that works really well. Often when I hear about those limited editions that come out, I'm too late. I think that the ultimate Speedmaster for any collector would be a watch worn by the first team of astronauts reaching the moon. The Speedmaster was a great chronograph, all its life since the 50s, worn by pilots, by scientists, or by just a cool guy next door who wanted a no-nonsense practical chronograph. But we cannot deny that its fate changed so dramatically in the late 60s when NASA chose it as the official watch for their astronauts and when it eventually made it to the moon. Now, there are also special watches outside of that, prototypes. The beauty of it is sometimes not knowing what's out there. The market has changed dramatically since I started being interested in watches and then started in the mid-90s in the auction industry. What has changed? Scholarship. Together with the transparency that the internet and books about certain topics have arrived, that accelerated that scholarship and the spreading of scholarship. What do I mean? I mean, 10 years ago, I couldn't tell you which hands, which bezel, which dial, which end links, which clasp, which pushers go on which Speedmaster. Today, you can see across the room when a bezel and a dial and a bracelet don't fit together. What has that caused? It has caused that the very best watches are now really reaching record all-time highs, and those not so appropriate, not so correct watches are actually orphans that nobody really wants anymore. I think there's a number of tips and recommendations I'd like to give. Passion is great, curiosity is great, to follow your instinct is great, but I would say prepare yourself before you just pull out your credit card. There's a lot of scholarship that goes into. Make use of the resources that are available. You can contact the Omega Museum and Archives for confirmation. You can ask on forums good questions. You can ask specialists and fellow collectors. You can ask trusted dealers. You can ask a trusted auction house specialist. They are so happy to help you. So it's like the first kiss. You want this to be the most beautiful experience of your life, and then for the next 60 or so years in your life, you have that positive wave carrying you forward.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.